Shroud of Turin tests point to its authenticity and confirmation of the historical Jesus.
Yup.
The latest round of scientific testing on the Shroud of Turin will surprise some, while others of faith may have expected these results. Results? Back in the late 1980s, carbon-14 dating was used to test the linen. The results of that test dated the shroud to the late Middle Ages. Even I understood as an 11-year-old that the shroud was in a fire and charred, leaving the results of the testing worthless. More than that, repairs to the shroud were also carried out in the Middle Ages. Wouldn't you know it? The 1989 sample was taken from the edges where non-contemporary threads were used to repair fraying in torn linen. So now, 30-plus years later, with advancements in artifact dating techniques and with a complete understanding of shrouds' known history, allowed research scientists to account for variables such as those above. Jean-Christian Petitfils informed the National Catholic Register of the findings in a recent interview. Those test findings exposed some interesting, frankly amazing secrets of the shroud. Examining using high-powered X-ray microscopes identified pollen from a wild crop that only comes from the Levant, specifically the area of Jerusalem. To add to it, these spores only disperse in the spring around the time of Passover. Exactly the time of year and place the Christ shroud would have been exposed. Using a new highly accurate dating technique, the linen was found to be 2,000 years old, not 700 as the original test with contaminated sample resulted. Oddly, if those researchers would have looked into the shroud history, they would have known that this shroud was documented with its backstory almost 400 years before date the 1989 testing expressed. That said, there is more. Other aspects of the shroud mystery are no longer in contention, while a fantastic theory rooted in radiation has now been asserted to be impossible. Some researchers have theorized that the image on the shroud was created by some sort of radiation. The idea believed that the act of resurrection may have caused the radical output printed on the shroud. However, physicist Giovanni Fazio has published a recent paper detailing why this cannot be the reason for the image. As of now, this is the loose end. As one door closes, another opens in this 2,000-year-old mystery. That said, Fazio's paper may have been proven wrong by work done 7 years prior at the University of Padua. In 2015, a team led by Italian chemist Giulio Fanti from the University of Padua claimed to have replicated the Shroud of Turin's image using a combination of scientific techniques. They suggested that the image could have been created by a burst of radiant energy, such as ultraviolet light, which they simulated in their experiments. Fanti and his team have not produced any physical evidence from these experiments. No one publicly has seen a transferred image by the scholars' processes, so the debate over how this image was produced from the Christ onto the shroud will continue. The blood on the shroud, which corresponds to the injuries to the Christ, has been found to be human blood, AB type. The sudarium, a face cloth claimed to have been used in Jeshua's burial, also is human blood of the AB type, suggesting that the blood could be from the same person. Strengthening this assumption is this detail. All the AB blood samples contain chemical changes which occur to blood during stress overload from, for example, torture. Jesus endured trials during the Passion which would most certainly have caused such a chemical reaction in his blood. Since there is no known descendants to test against the blood, at least at this time, absolute proof is not attainable. All this evidence, however, makes the probability of this being Jesus Christ's shroud highly likely. Applying logic, the shroud's authenticity is near irrefutable. There are no other candidates in 1st century Judea with the specific bodily traumas Jeshua suffered. The intelligent naysayer, well, at least not documented. Jesus being nailed to the cross was an anomaly. This act in practice rare. The pierced side is a 50-50. The location will be the left side or right side. The crown of thorns. Perhaps, maybe, some king of a tribe conquered may have worn one in Rome during a triumph. I am calling the crown of thorns a one-off. It's a one-off. Keeping it 100 with y'all. These wounds are stated in the Bible compiled 300 some odd years after Jeshua died. These exact wounds are found on the shroud dating back early to middle 1st century. The shroud is not seen again in the West until after 800 Anno Domini. Therefore, the image could not have been created from anyone else nor fabricated from information in the Bible. To kill someone after all this just to falsify a relic before there even was a church? That is some foresight. I am calling such a stretch. 100 is where I be. This also proves Jesus Christ was a man among us. He whom suffered the torture described in the Passion, although some may still argue that the story of his life and particulars are a composite of several other gods as well. This is fair and true to a point. Regardless, we now know the New Testament draws from a real historical figure, thus meaning what has been attributed to Christ by his disciples will be more or less truth, while also allowing for the composite figure for religious holidays created by religion to also exist.